All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Not to sound too much. Oh, I think my video just died. Give me 1 second here. All right, we'll restart that. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Not to sound too much like the Truman Show here, but we welcome all of you who are joining us from all over the place to talk a little bit more about Master in Management programs, or basically just programs in the discipline of management at the graduate level. There's many different titles for these programs, which we will explore as we go throughout the session today. So pay attention to that as you're researching and looking at each of these schools. You may see slightly different program titles, but they are similar in structure, similar in who we are looking for these programs. And I'm glad you're here today to learn more about all of that. My name is Mike. I am with ClearAdmit. ClearAdmit is an applicant resource website for those of you looking to apply to these programs and learn more about them all. We do events like these. We have advice columns and resources on our site. So come check us out if you need some help on how to interview, how to write essays, or again, just to learn more about these programs. Come check us out. That's enough about ClearAdmit for now. You can look us up at a later date. We want to dive in and welcome each of our panelists. So first up, we have Marina Fay, Director of Graduate and Executive Degree Programs Admissions over at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. Hello, Marina.
Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you for being here. We will move on to Patrice Faison, Associate Director of the MS Major in Management over at Georgia Tech Scheller. Hello.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here.
Glad to have you here as well. Moving on, we'll have Julia Hoffert, Director of Admissions and Recruitment for Ross one-year master's programs, which is at Michigan Ross. Hello, Julia.
Hello, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yes, and a few locals that were in the chat, and Patrice had a local as well. So hopefully there's some more locals. Maybe they're just a little shy to write where they're from, but that's totally fine. We will move now on to Lindsay Haberman, Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the full-time MBA over at UC Irvine's Merage School of Business.
Good morning, everybody. Really happy to be here.
Happy to have you as well. And last but not least, I'm sorry, Dave, this is just alphabetically, this is where you landed, not by your own name, but by your school's name. So I apologize for that. But Dave Jackson, Director of Admissions for the MAC and MSM programs at UNC Kenan-Flagler.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here.
Good to have you as well. And again, just as a reminder, folks, this is being recorded, so you can come and check out all the notes and all the great insights that all of our panelists are about to share as we move forward with this event. First off, we want to start with a few general questions, and we'll ask one question to each of our schools just to learn more about what these programs are, who they're for, who really should be looking into these programs, and maybe some of the outcomes at the end. So the first question we want to ask is very simply, right? What is a master's in management? Who is it for? And we will pose this question over to Marina at Georgetown if you can help us out.
Yeah, great question. So generally speaking, Master's in Management program is going to be a 1 year, typically degree designed for students to give them those foundational business skills. At Georgetown, the curriculum of our MiM program is modeled after the first year of our MBA. So you're going to get a broad breadth foundation across business subjects, and you're going to do it quick in 10 months. Generally speaking, we're looking for students who are early in their career at Georgetown, 0 to 3 years of professional work experience post your undergraduate degree. And different programs have different requirements here. At Georgetown, we don't care what your undergraduate major was. We're open to students from any undergraduate degree and discipline. Some schools are looking for students who don't necessarily have a business background. So it's really applicable to a wide swath of students who are looking to get some business skills.
Perfect. That sounds great. And thank you for clarifying too, because there are some programs with certain entry majors and backgrounds. So yeah, good to know and good to see that. When you're researching programs, just make sure you're taking a look through those requirements. Next question that we had, and these are the pre-submitted questions that I mentioned earlier, where we kind of collected some popular questions, wanted to kind of just ask them here at the beginning. So Patrice, we'll pose this over to you over at Georgia Tech, but walk us through what that curriculum looks like, right? What kind of subject matter are part of the core classes within the program? And then does your program have elective courses and, are there specializations, majors? Just take us through kind of what someone can expect when they enter a program like this.
Yes, absolutely. So our core curriculum is structured to offer students an introduction to subjects in financial accounting, leading teams, principles of finance, operations management, information resources, marketing management, ethical considerations, and strategy. So The structure is really there to lay a foundation for the fundamentals of business. It comprises roughly 50% of the program core requirements. And then the remaining 50%, the other half, is and comprises of the electives, which we offer a wide range of 40 plus graduate management electives in the areas of operations, analytics, marketing, and finance, and in other areas of business.
Very cool. And does your program offer the ability to like specialize at the end of it as well?
There is no specialization or particular track. Students can more so specialize just by choosing a specific group. They take a total of 6 electives in the program.
Great.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yep.
Cool stuff. Yeah. Oh, did I hear something? No. Okay. Cool. So thank you so much for providing that. And again, another possible difference between different programs as we move forward. So third question here that we have, and we'll pose this towards Julia over at Michigan Ross. What can MIM graduates do when they graduate, right? So we hear that term placements, which you're not going to get placed, right? There's no job handed to you, but where do you go after this? What does the career prospect look like?
Yeah, and I think sort of talking a little bit to what Marina mentioned before about the wide swath of students that we're going to have in these programs is also reflected in the wide swath of career placements, where they might be going and what they ultimately track doing. I would say a large percentage of students going out into the career world after finishing one of these programs is usually typically very interested in consulting, and that will be a path that some students take. A good amount of our students land in marketing and sales. And then we kind of go out from there into finance, into supply chain, into business analytics, into operations and general management, and also healthcare. And I think when we talk about career paths from the Masters of Management, some of that is derived from the type of undergraduate degree the students are coming in with to where they might ultimately decide to go, because they're layering on that business skill set and they might want to go into that sort of industry. But other students kind of do a pivot, an unexpected pivot, and find themselves going into a completely different industry. And as you mentioned, Mike, and it's really important to drive this home, jobs are not handed to students. We really wish we could do that. But we are just as dependent upon the economy as any other, student out there. But the goal is to really get comfortable with the skills of interviewing, of putting yourself out there in a way that will really work to get you to that first particular job. And then what we get really excited about is hearing how students track quickly upward and an upward trend in their career as well.
Yeah, it's funny. As I read the question, I'm like, we probably should have changed that placement word. I know I heard this at a prior session where, yeah, it's a tricky one, right? Because you don't want to just say, oh yeah, it's handed to you. Like you get into these programs, you do a lot of work to get here, and the work continues when you're there, right? I mean, it's available.
It is.
Yeah.
And the goal, and all of us here have wonderful career development and career offices. They're really there to help students hone in and develop the skills they need to be as successful as they can be upon finishing the program.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, thank you for that. That sounds great. And take advantage of those resources now as an undergrad, but then also when you get to grad school. Helpful on both ends. All right, cool. So next question we have here, and this will go towards Lindsay over at UC Irvine. What are you looking for when you're reviewing applications for this program, and what characteristics would a competitive applicant have, in your opinion?
Yeah, good question. As others have said, I mean, for most students coming into the program, I mean, they're coming from a non-business degree. At Merage, I mean, again, we're open to kind of all undergraduate degrees coming in. But I think, having a strong academic performance in your undergraduate degree, since a lot of these students are going to be early career professionals, just being able to showcase that. Because again, I mean, you're going to have some quantitative heavy courses kind of in that first quarter of the program. So having kind of that strong academic background, I think is one thing we look for. Experience outside of the classroom. I think that's important. I mean, when you're looking at like maybe some internship experience, maybe you have a year of work experience, anything that can kind of help your application stand out. I think that's another kind of area that's important as well. Obviously, a diverse perspective, being able to kind of showcase your maybe non-traditional background and kind of those critical thinking skills that you've learned in kind of your undergraduate degree. That's kind of another area I think is important. And just maybe, kind of leadership and growth. I mean, kind of having that growth-oriented mindset. Maybe kind of talk through some of the leadership experience you do have. I think for a lot of our master in management students, it's maybe kind of taking on, positions within clubs and organizations in their undergraduate degree. Talk through that. I think that's important to kind of have as well, just to kind of showcase that. And then just, I think, kind of that personal and professional development. I think just being able to kind of talk through why are you applying to master's in management, coming from a non-business degree, what are those skill sets you're looking to acquire? How are we going to be able to help you through master in management? So those are really, I think, some of the things we look for here at Merage.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And we'll talk a little later in today's session about some of these essay prompts that you all have in your applications. And those are great portions of the application to put in some of that information to kind of learn a little bit more about each of these applicants from the school's perspective and find those fits. So little teaser to stick around for the end of the session. Moving on to the last question in this first portion of the event, and this will go towards Dave. So Dave, and students are doing this right now, right? They're here at this session. They're looking at multiple programs and different options and learning about these programs. But when people actually sit down and decide on where to apply, what do you think they should be looking at? Is it the curriculum structure? Is it how they support careers, the location of the school? Like, what are some of those kind of items that are most important to be considering?
I love this question, Mike, and the short answer is all of them. The way I frame it up is the way it was framed up to me by a mentor of mine, Joe Stevens at UT McCombs, when I started in higher ed 11 years ago. He said, graduate school is different from undergrad, and when you're thinking about grad schools, you should look for three things. Number one, is the program going to challenge you? Because you're coming to it with a yearning to learn something in depth that you don't currently feel like you know. So you want the program to push you. You want to, investigate who are the faculty, what are their backgrounds? Do they have industry backgrounds in addition to just academic backgrounds? What is the rigor of the curriculum going to present to you? You really want the academics to make you lift your game a little bit. Second thing is the program going to raise your ceiling on opportunities beyond what you have today? That's, of course, the career services, not just, the support they provide you in helping you find a job, but what skills they're going to give you in that process along the way, as well as the network of the school. That's a big source of the value in graduate school, is the network you're going to build with your classmates and with the alumni of the school. So you want to learn about that. And then the third thing you want to look for is the program going to feel like home? It's not undergrad. You're not spending 4 years with us. You're spending one, but that's still an important year for you in and outside of the classroom. And you want to feel comfortable bringing your whole self to it. So the location of the program, the culture of the program, is it a competitive program or is it a collaborative program? Visiting a class is something I always encourage people if they have a chance to do, so you can see what it's like and what your future classmates might be like. So it's a big basket of all of those things. And in the end, I think all of us on this side want our applicants to feel like they've landed in the right place for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last question, right? That all of you are looking for the fit from the student and if they're going to kind of fit you. But this is that chance of like, is the school going to fit you as that student too? So that fit question kind of goes both ways. And that's that list is perfect. I may steal that at a future session, but don't tell anybody. Okay. So that's awesome stuff. We will now move to the next portion of today's event, where we're going to ask each of our schools to just talk a little bit more about their actual program. So give us a little cool aspect of your master's program that you wish to highlight to the audience today. And then secondly, if you can tell us something unique about your admissions process that you think people should know before they go and explore and apply to your program. So we will now go back to Marina to kick things off in this section over at Georgetown.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I am going to talk about two of my favorite things about our Master's in Management program at Georgetown. We call it the MIM for short, MIM. One is our Global Business Experience, which happens in the spring semester. It's a real global consulting project that our students complete. You really travel internationally for a week in March and work with a real client on a real business challenge that they're facing. This year, our students will travel to Singapore, Dublin, or Buenos Aires. Those are the three potential locations. Locations always subject to change year to year, but our students are very excited. I was talking to some of them earlier today. They're very excited to really dive into their project. So I think that's a really unique opportunity to implement a lot of the things you've been learning in the program in a hands-on way. And then the second quick thing that I'll plug is that we recently launched what we call our MIM to MBA pathway. Our friends at Clear Admit have written up a little bit about this if you are exploring their website. But this is an opportunity for our MIM alumni to complete the MIM program, go out and work for a couple of years, and then come back and apply to our MBA program at Georgetown. And if admitted, you can come back and complete your MBA in as little as 1 year full-time or 1.5 years part-time. So it's a really great opportunity to get that early career advancement from a graduate degree with the MIM program, work, hone your skills, decide maybe you want to specialize, you want to come back and get a little bit more education, come back, do another year, and then get that MBA. So those are really great sort of unique things, I would say, about our MIM program here at Georgetown. In terms of things that are unique about our admissions process, I would say one of the things that we value the most at Georgetown is seeing how you're going to fit with our culture. We're a very collaborative, teamwork-oriented business school here at McDonough, and so we really want to understand how you're going to fit here at Georgetown. We talk a lot about our Jesuit values at Georgetown a lot, which really just means things like people for others, care for our common home, cura personalis, care for the whole person, being involved in your community. So think about how your values as a person, as a student, align with our values as an institution and articulate that in your application as a way to really help us understand how you're going to fit here in our student body and our cohort.
That sounds great, and great opportunities for the students to be able to travel in their program. That sounds really cool too. And thanks for the little shout out. Yeah, it's nice to know that you can enter one of these programs. And if you're stuck on the fence, right? Do I do a MIM? Do I do an MBA? Why not consider both? And you can kind of do them in that order, and it makes perfect sense. So thank you, Marina. And we will now move, where are we going here? We're going a little bit south of you to Patrice down in Atlanta. If you can introduce your program to us as well, and a unique aspect of your admissions process.
Sure, absolutely. So our program is a 9-month program. So our students enroll only in the fall and then complete the program in just 9 months, graduating in May. So a lot is compacted and an immersive program to give students a wide range of opportunities to hone their business acumen. So the program, one of the aspects that's unique about the program is that our students take all of their elective courses with our MBA students in the full-time MBA program. So the same electives, the same professors, the same classroom experience, the same learning outcomes. Our MBA students typically have anywhere from 2 to 5 years of professional work experience, which we feel brings a very unique dynamic to the classroom experience. So our students are collaborating with business professionals the first day throughout their journey through the program. And they're also working in collaboration in the classroom with projects, but they're also collaborating outside of the classroom through the clubs and committees that they're participating in. They are all graduate programs for students in the MS major in management program, as well as full-time MBAs, evening MBAs, and executive MBAs. And we pride ourselves at Scheller in terms of networking and building community. We feel that it's as much a part of the overall experience for our students as anything. We want them to build their professional network, working within their peers, and building relationships. And what better way to do that than collaborating with students who have been working professionals and are already advancing in their careers. So it's a very immersive opportunity for our students to connect and build relationships within the expansive Scheller community. One of the unique attributes around the admissions process, we do not require GRE or GMAT. If students have taken those exams, You are more than welcome to include them in your application, but they are not required. We are, again, as it's been said earlier, we really want to hear about the experiences that you've had through leadership opportunities, through community service projects, and we don't want students to be hesitant about applying because they've not taken those exams.
No, that's great. So yeah, hitting on that networking piece, and then also, yeah, knowing that we're kind of towards the end of the academic year, deadlines are coming up. So taking away what could be, a longer thing to study for and prepare for, that's great. Helping people get in a little faster. So good stuff there. Thank you for sharing. And we will now move northern over to Julia at Michigan Ross. And if you can do the same thing there, just highlight your program a bit and then a unique aspect of your admissions process.
Sure. So back up to the tundra. So our Master of Management program is a 10-month program that begins in late June, typically late June, early July, and runs through until around April when we have an early sort of commencement. It's early in my brain. That doesn't mean it is. That's just what U of M does. What I would say about the program is it's a cohort style program. So when you are placed in a cohort, you will have about 60 people that you will take all of your core classes with during the course of the program. And similar to what Patrice said, we also have the electives option. And yes, our electives are also MBA electives that students have the opportunity to take. So you would likely and would hopefully be in a mixture of classes that would have not only your own cohort, but members of the full-time MBA program, but also some of our other one-year master's programs, accounting, business analytics, and supply chain management. And if I were to highlight sort of a unique aspect, and I'm not sure it's unique, my guess is my colleagues are also in similar conversations. There's a lot of conversations around AI and a lot of courses that are being developed and have been onboarded around AI that students are thinking about taking, potentially taking. And the University of Michigan has really kind of embraced the AI world, inclusive of actually U of M creating its own GPT that we internally have use for. So I think as we progress in this world of AI, and I have lots of different feelings about it, that is something that will become an increasing part of all of our curricula, I would imagine. And whether it's in the core curriculum or even electives, there will be opportunities for students to engage within that sphere as well. In terms of a unique aspect of our admissions, I'm not sure if it's necessarily unique, but I want to talk about it because it's our second year of doing this, and we're going to be continuing doing this. And it actually does bridge to the AI world. But as part of our admissions process, we do an online admissions video interview. And we used to do these live, but we had capacity issues. So we wanted to make sure that everyone who applied had the opportunity to present themselves in a more three-dimensional way, if you will. And so we implemented this online video admissions interview. And we asked 5 questions, all of which are in the behavioral base. So we're not asking you to do a statistics problem or to show me how you know how to do VLOOKUP. It's not that kind of scenario, but it's more about understanding who you are as it relates to Ross values. And I want to head back to the AI for a moment because it's really clear this year that a lot of students are using AI in the generation of their answers. And I am not a fan of AI, but I think it's really important for students to understand that AI is a tool. It is not an originator. So when I get answers that have all of the same terms used and no specificity and just generic things, it doesn't land. It doesn't hit. And that's probably the same that when we talk about our essays in the same way that we will reflect back to you. So I just want to encourage students to think about the video admissions interview as a space to really be specific, yourself, and not perfect. We're not looking for perfect. I don't want a perfect AI generated answer. I want an authentic answer that shows us a little bit of something more than we might have seen within the scope of your written materials. So that's my little soapbox that we'll probably all get on at some point and during this conversation. But that's what I've got, Mike.
No, I love that. And I think it will pop up a few more times, especially in the essay section. And I agree with you. I think it's like write the essay first and then use it to kind of craft your answer or get yourself into the word limit properly. Like things like that would make sense. But to just give it the prompt and say, write me an essay, If enough people do the same thing, that same essay will pop up on your desk and you'll figure it out pretty quick. So yeah, let's be smart about the use of the AI. It is a great tool. It's not an originator. I like that. Okay, so we'll move on to now at West, and you can talk about how nice it is out there. Over at UC Irvine, Lindsay, if you can introduce us to your program and then a unique aspect of your admissions process.
I know it is nice out here, like 85 degrees out west. Yeah, I'm going to throw that out there. But anyway, so talking more about our program, we are, I think, unique here that we are, our cohort that is completing the program right now is cohort number 1. So we just launched our Master in Management program last year. We've learned a ton already in this year, but I think what I can kind of speak about as a highlight so far from what I'm hearing from the students. Our program has an aspect to it where you will complete a capstone project working with a local company in the area. Those companies are being sourced now because you do complete it in your 3rd quarter of the program. So right now they're in quarter 2. What they are doing is they are preparing for the capstone. So they have now heard what the types of projects are going to be. So I know there's one in operations, and I know there's a project in strategy. So students will get to kind of pick what project they would feel they would want to work on. And then come into the 3rd quarter, the companies will be presented to them and they can kind of pick the company that they would like to work on this project with. So super hands-on. I think some of the companies I can say that our other specialized master's programs have used for capstones, include Johnson & Johnson, Amazon, the LA Rams. So it's going to be a large Fortune 500 company in the area. And students will get to work through that capstone project throughout their final quarter, then being able to present those ideas to obviously, the company representatives that come out and kind of hear their pitches. So really, really going to be a very, I think, valuable piece of our Master in Management program. I'm super excited to see how it all pans out. But what I can tell you is right now, yeah, they're definitely preparing. They're going through kind of that process of how to pick what project is going to make kind of that, impact for them. So that is kind of a current aspect about the program. From the admissions standpoint, I would say, like it's already been said, and I will kind of talk about it in the next section, but one of our essays is a video essay. I think, again, as we've all talked about, it's really important to be your authentic self, to see your authentic self, to kind of share your story, more about yourself, why the program and the video essay really does that. I think it kind of brings an application to life for us. We see a lot of applications. We read a lot of essays, but to see somebody come, through video and really talk about themselves is definitely something we enjoy about our application process. So yeah, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but really, think through the video essay. Like, what do you want to share about yourself that is something we don't know, something that we couldn't read in your essay? And yeah, be authentic and kind of true to yourself and really kind of, talk about why this degree is kind of that next step for you. So yeah, that's definitely an important, I think, part of our admissions process.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk a little more about that in a few more minutes. So thank you for teeing that up for us as we move on here, and we'll go over to Dave. Dave, again, every program's different, but I'm sorry, you gotta bring up the back end here. So Lindsay's program just finished or is finishing their 1st year. I believe this is some newsworthy stuff here, right? Tell us about your program.
Yeah, I think people watching this are going to think Lindsay and I used AI on our answers because I've got some similar answers to what she said. This is also our 1st year of having an MS in Management program. As a matter of fact, a year ago today, we didn't have one. We got approval from the state on February 27th of last year. So we launched the program in a matter of about 5 months from approval to our first students joining us. Like Lindsay, we're learning a lot. A brand new program is a learning experience, not just for the students, but the faculty and the staff. But we're really excited to have, we have 39 students in our current cohort. We're looking to grow that this year to about 60 and then eventually around 75 per cohort or per class. And so it's a program that's 30 credits long, 10 months. Concentrations available in either finance or marketing in addition to the core. We do advertise our program as designed for non-business majors. That's not to say if you're an undergraduate business major, you're not eligible, but we would need to see, and we can talk about this in the essay, evidence in your essay that, in your interview that you understand how this degree is going to add value to you, not just kind of kick the can down the road in terms of you making a decision about your career. It's really, something we built for non-business majors to add a business degree to what they've already studied in undergrad. One of our highlights is called a STAR project, similar to what Lindsay talked about in terms of a capstone project. I'd say what's different about it maybe is that we have as our partners all nonprofits. So our students have been assigned to work with nonprofit organizations, either here in the Triangle or in Asheville, North Carolina. If you remember, about a year and a half ago, they had some historic rainfall and flooding, and a lot of the community is still rebuilding. And so we decided to partner with that community on a number of these projects, as well as some local organizations. So our students have a consulting course that they take as part of their core to prepare them for how to execute this project, and that's in the fall, and then they execute the project throughout the spring semester. So they're about the midpoint of that right now. In terms of our application process, we do live interviews, and everybody has to do one. No one gets into our program without an interview. They're done via Zoom. They take about 30 minutes. And my motto with interviews is I want to make you think, not make you sweat. So it's a combination of behavioral interview questions like Julia talked about, or questions about your background and your goals to really make sure that this is the right fit, the type of program that you're looking for. And also it's an opportunity for you to ask us questions. You are interviewing us at the same time as we interview you. So we aspire to interview everybody who applies. We're at the stage right now where we're trying to determine who's a good fit for our MSM program because it is so new. With time, I don't know that we'll interview everybody, but will say that, interview will be a mandatory part of the process, now and moving forward.
Sounds great. No, and it's nice to hear how both programs are thriving in their first year. So congrats to you both launching a new program. It's a lot of work. So best of luck to you both. I'm glad you're both here to talk about those programs. So we'll move into our next portion of the event where we're going to display the essay prompts for each of these programs. We'll bring back each panelist to talk a little bit more about their essays, maybe pick a favorite, let us know, how someone should answer that question, maybe why you asked that question and what you're looking for out of applicants. And then I'll ask a follow-up about a different prompt that you offer. And so with that, we will first start over with Marina at Georgetown. Let us know, what do you like here? Everything's on one page. If you do have multiple pages, I'll try to key you in, but we have all your stuff here. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I am a big fan of our essay prompts personally. I think they're really fun. You'll notice we have two optional statements in addition to these two required essays that are a little bit more I would say to the point of what you would expect from a graduate school essay, but I really like our essay prompts. We're not going to ask you why Georgetown. We're not going to ask you about your background because we have your resume, we have your transcripts, we know about those things. We want you to use these essay spaces to tell us something that we can't learn from reading those pieces of information you'll submit as part of your application. So I am a big fan of our personal essay. We offer 3 prompts, truly no preference from the admissions committee between these 3. Pick the one that makes the most sense to you. The question I get most often about these prompts is a version of, does the admissions committee have to know what I'm referring to? Do they have to know the genre of music? Do they have to know the character? Do they have to know the quote? The answer absolutely is no. We are not all knowing beings. Tell us a little bit about what you're referring to. If you're using a quote that's not originally in English, please translate it for us. If you're referencing a character that you think we might not know about, give us a little bit of information about that character. But at the end of the day, we care more about how you relate to the thing you're talking about and less about the thing you're actually talking about. So spend less time explaining to me what jazz is and spend more time telling me about how that compares to you. I also would say that you don't have to compare yourself in a positive way. You can talk about ways that you're different from the thing that you're comparing yourself to as well. That's a really good strategy or thing to think about as you're writing the essay. But it is one of my favorite parts of our application, and one of my favorite parts about reading applications is reading responses to these essay prompts, definitely.
Yeah, it is definitely a fun prompt, especially because there's a lot of interpretation. There's a lot of directions you can go. If someone is really into music and doesn't read as much, or vice versa, like there's options here where you can kind of choose your fit, right? Like what makes sense to what you do. So I'm going to cheat. I just said I'm going to ask you about your other prompt, but I like this prompt also. So I was going to ask the follow up about this prompt,
Yeah.
because one thing that we tend to think when we look at your prompts is you're applying to business school, and there's a lot of other essay prompts out there from other schools about career goals and how you can connect this degree to your career goals. So in this prompt, comparing yourself to a genre of music or a fictional character from a book, does it have to be connected to business and to your career plans, or can this just kind of be freely personal and just a way to introduce yourself?
Yeah, great question. Definitely doesn't have to be business related. You don't have to write an essay about a lawyer you saw on TV if you want to go into something that's related to law, right? Like write whatever you'd like to do. I do recommend that through the course of your essay, you do answer a question that we don't explicitly ask, but I think your application as a whole should answer this question, and the essay is a great place to talk about it. How have your experiences informed your goals, and how is our MIM program going to help you reach those goals? Your whole application should answer that question, and the essay is a great way to talk about some of those experiences and how it's informed your goals. And maybe one of our other optional statements or your video essay is a great place to talk about some other parts of that general question you should be thinking about as you're compiling your application.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for that. And again, fun prompts. If you are hanging out in the chat, let us know which of these things you would select if you were selecting prompts to apply to Georgetown, because I'm curious what people think. So thank you, Marina, for that. We will now move over to Patrice over at Georgia Tech. Patrice, same thing here. If you can take a look at your two prompts, let us know which one's your favorite, why it's being asked, how people can answer it, and then we'll ask you a follow-up.
Yes, so I can share a little bit more about the distinctions between the two essays. I think that there is some overlap there, which is certainly fine. I think students can certainly speak to their career aspirations in both essays. It's perfectly fine. But the first essay is really designed for students to tell us their why. So starting with why they've made the decision to pursue a master's. I think it's important for us to understand from a clarity standpoint, and also to understand that the student's goals and their mindset is clear in terms of direction. And we also ask, why Georgia Tech? Why Scheller? I think it's important that we have clarity that students have done their research, that they've attended a webinar, that they understand the requirements for the program, they know the admissions criteria, that they have the opportunity to speak with a student ambassador or an alumni ambassador during that process. We love to hear those pieces that students have taken the time to do their due diligence, to research the program fully. And we also are asking why the program appeals to them and why they feel they're a great fit. And then the second part of the essay asks specifically around their professional aspirations. And that's a very different question. I see it as more of the how students feel the program aligns with their professional goals. Again, speaking to the research that they've hopefully done, in speaking with current students, attending a webinar or attending a class visit and coming on campus to experience the community live and in person. It's so important that we understand how they see the program helping them elevate their potential professionally. So we see the second essay more as clarifying their vision, for the future, where they see themselves currently and where they see themselves going upon completion of the program. So for the admissions committee members, it's really important that, as it's been said earlier, that our students are speaking from an authentic place, that they're telling their story and painting a full picture for us of where they are now and where they hope to be in the future.
Yeah, that's great. And you already touched on a little bit of this, of how they are distinct essays, but they do kind of play off one another to a certain extent, right? Because you would hope,
They do.
right, that the people that have those professional aspirations are going to reach those goals by attending your program. So, in that balance between the two questions, right, how do you recommend
Mhm.
people mention how they interrelate, right? Should they take some space out of the 2,000 characters in the first essay to mention those career goals and then expand upon that in the second essay? Should they completely separate them and just kind of stop and then start the career stuff in the second essay? How do you kind of recommend people tackle the connection between the two questions?
Sure. I think touching on their aspirations within the first part of the essay is perfectly fine. As long as you've answered the first portion of the question really as to why. And then if you want to elaborate more within the 2,000 characters, what your professional aspirations are leading into the second part of the essay, and then expanding on that in the second part of the essay is perfectly fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. No, good stuff here again.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you
Yep.
so much. So
Oops.
we will move on to our next school with Julia over at Michigan Ross. Julia, we have your essay prompts here. Let us know what you think and why you asked the question that you like the most.
Sure, absolutely. So we have these two prompts, and I will highlight these, but I do want to bring up the fact that we do have an additional prompt that is optional that I think is really important to talk about. So the one that I want to kind of focus slightly on this part of our conversation is that essay two. That essay used to be, how will you engage in Michigan Ross when you are here? And that essay started to become a regurgitation of our website and didn't really speak to how it would actually happen. And what we realized is that past behavior is indicative of what you will be and the type of citizen and person you will be in this program when you are here. So that's why we have shifted that particular essay in the past couple of years to be like, hey, tell us about what you've done in the past in your community that is meaningful to you. A lot of us in our business schools and our business realm talk about the term impact. So how have you made an impact? What has been meaningful to you? And in the best way possible, my hope is that that has been recent experiences. I would say probably my less successful essays are people that talk to me about things they did in high school, but it becomes clear they haven't really done anything during their college years. And so I'd like to highlight that a little bit. And the first essay, as you'll see, is kind of a mixture of two essays that used to be separated, but we found that we got the same essay all the time, so we put them together, which is your why and your what. And we know that for a lot of our Masters of Management students, the what is not always clear right at the outset. And so they don't always know exactly what they're going to go into. They don't necessarily have their goals super specific in mind. And that's why we kind of brought in the fact of what you want to get out of this program experience, because in that way you can kind of balance those two aspects and talk about, I'm not quite sure yet, but I really am interested in these skills and being able to use these skills in whatever context I might head into after that. But the one I really want to tell and talk about is the one that's not listed here, which is the optional essay. And why I want to bring this up is that we kind of have an open space to say if there is something about your application or your candidacy that we're not going to see either in the scope of these other pieces or within these essays, please feel free to talk about it here. What I don't want is your term paper. I don't want a dissertation or a really well-written paper. What I want is for students to potentially address any areas in the application that are going to have our eyebrows raised and have question marks. And I want them to address it in a way where they take ownership, show accountability, but also show what they learned and how they've grown from that experience. That could be that You started off thinking that you were going to go into med school and organic chemistry took you out in freshman year and your GPA was horrible. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the journeys you might have had along the way that we're going to see in the scope of your transcript or even within the scope of your resume that you think, ooh, I don't love how that looks. Let me kind of deal with that. And that is a space for you to do so. It is not a requirement. But if you know that we might look at something and question it, it's okay to address that there, and I would encourage you to. Please don't think we're not going to see it. We are going to see a semester of bad grades. We are going to notice grade trends or something that might not be super awesome in your background. Let's talk about it. Let's see how you've grown from it. So that's what I'd like to really highlight on those regards.
Yeah, Julian, that's a great point, and something we always like to tell students too is don't let the admissions committee have to guess what happened, right? So you mentioned, right,
100%.
sometimes things do happen in life, right? So one of those examples could have happened to somebody, but if you just apply and you don't mention that, and we just assume, oh, they just stopped caring and got bad grades that semester. It's like, no, there was some other extra, extenuating circumstance. Just mention it. It's good to put it in
Yeah.
there. Don't let anybody guess or try to connect the dots on their own. Help us connect those dots for you so we can evaluate you properly. So that all makes sense. Thank you for mentioning the optional essays. And other schools have optional essays as well. So I just want to make sure we mention that this is not the full essay on any school. I think a lot of other schools have optionals. So I'll go back to your first essay with the more of a career goal kind of essay, right? Do you have advice on how to balance explaining the short-term goals, the long-term goals, as well as then offering the reasons why they want to pursue the degree? So is it like a third of the available space, or does it kind of just flow? Like, what do you recommend here?
I'm a big flow person. And I think that that's largely derived off of where the person is at the time of application. We are going to have students that are hyper clear on their goals. I want to be a consultant. This is what I want to do. And then I want to head into a managerial position. We are going to have those students. Then we're going to have the students that are saying, I have some general ideas about what I would like to do, and I'm more focused on how this degree program will help me find that and help me get there. So we are not looking for people that all fit the same box and that all have the same goals or super hyper specific, because we are going to have students that are completely making a pivot, that are totally thinking of something different and haven't yet formulated what that might look like, but they know that this particular degree program and experience is going to help them find that pathway. So no, it is not formulaic. I think it's highly individual. Just have it make sense for us. This is your starting interview, right? We have the admissions interview, but these pieces of you in these essays help us understand you more and help us flesh out a bit more of who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're allowed to change those goals too. That's another
Oh,
thing we like to
yes.
mention. Yeah, you probably will 2 or 3 times. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So one day maybe
Same,
I'll come back to
same.
school and figure it out. Awesome. Thank you for your assistance here on your essays. We will now move over to Lindsay. Same idea here. If you can pick a prompt that you like, let us know. I assume I know which one it's going to be, probably essay 1 listed here, but take us in that direction and I'll ask you a follow-up.
Yes, definitely SA1. But I think SA1 is important because, again, I mean, it's allowing somebody to tell us more about themselves. I mean, something that we wouldn't see through their resume and just through their, academic coursework. I think it's really, kind of getting the student to think through the why. I think the why is so important in any graduate program, any program you apply to. Why is this kind of that next step for you? What does that look like? Were there gaps in your undergraduate degree that you truly were like, they're clear gaps I have, and this is why this program really makes sense for me. I think the what definitely comes way later in the program. I think, but the why is kind of why you're applying. Like, why is this program appealing to you? So I think being able to kind of talk through that and really, kind of show interest in the program and, the school as well. I mean, please do your research on all of the programs that you apply to. and really kind of find out what truly stands out about that program and, how it can impact you and how it can help you, I think, in the long run. So I think that's where the video essay really comes in. It's a way for us to really see your authentic self, see how, your presence, your communication skills, all of the things that you will bring into the classroom and how you will be able to kind of add value to the cohort. And so that's where I feel like SA1 does a lot of that. And it really helps us just get a better understanding of who you are.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you said earlier too, but those video essays, they are fun, right? I mean, you get to really introduce your full self with your personality and your tone and your excitement possibly for the program. So yeah, although it's a 1 to 2 minutes, it goes by quick, but practice first, get in front of a camera, do it in front of friends, and then go on and do your video essay. So Lindsay, I'll then flip over to essay 2, which to summarize very quickly is that middle line there. Based on your understanding of the Merage culture, how would you contribute to our community? And then within the question asks folks to consider activities they would do on campus, but maybe also providing examples of how they were engaged as an undergraduate. So our question is another one of these, how to split up the pie of the question here, right? So how many examples should they really be providing, which may be listed in other portions of their application, versus focusing more on the future and what they'll be doing on your campus? Do you have any idea of how to really balance that response properly?
Yeah, I know that question. It's a lot to kind of unpack. But I think it goes back to kind of what I had said earlier. What are we looking for in candidates? A lot of students are, coming right out of undergraduate. So what were they involved in? What were the extracurriculars they did in undergraduate? And how will that translate into, the master in management program? Because I mean, with all of our master's degrees, all of our schools offer so many different things to get involved in outside of the classroom, right? Everybody's here to, go to school, but like the clubs, the organizations, the, different case competitions you can do, those are all really important to a student's success in the program. And so I think, being able to kind of talk through maybe kind of some of those passion, because I see a lot of students when I'm like, well, tell me kind of some of the things you did in undergrad. And that's when their eyes light up, kind of those passion projects or passion areas in which they, did an undergraduate. And then how could that translate into Merage? Like, where would you want to bring that into our community and really be an active member? So I think, kind of balancing both. But I think it's just a way, we are, a very collaborative, supportive community at Merage. All of our programs are a little bit on the smaller side, which creates a very high touch, community where students really get to know one another really well. So we want to see students that have done those things in undergrad and then want to kind of come into Merage and continue on. So I would kind of take it as a balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's nice to be able to connect those dots and hopefully find those opportunities. If there's something you really liked in undergrad and you want to do it somewhere else with a different group of people, like that's a great way to kind of explore where you could do those things. So yeah, that sounds great. And thank you for providing your answers here. Dave, you've been patient. I appreciate you once again. And you know what? In the next section, I'm going to have you go first because you've been good all day. So take us through your favorite prompt here and what you're looking for, and then we will follow up.
Yeah, and we've got 2 essays that you're showing here that are both required. We also have an optional essay, and if you want to know what that's about, just rewind to what Julia said. It's exactly the same. It's an opportunity for you to give us context about anything in your application that you feel like we should get that context on. So I appreciate her comments on that and echo them. I'll talk about our first essay. Our first one is really about who are you and what do you bring to the program. And the second is about what you would like to get out of the program. But on the first one, it's written very generally for a purpose because you can talk about your undergraduate experience, you can talk about work experience you've had, or you can talk about something beyond that. We've seen some great essays about hobbies that have shaped your life and often point us to skills that you have our hobbies are quite often, extensions of skills that we like to use. And so that can be something you talk about. Some people have written about challenges they've faced in their lives, personal and professional, that show us that, you've been through things far more challenging than anything we're going to put you through in the classroom. And you're prepared for this. I know that, we use the word grit a lot, maybe a bit too much now. But showing us that you bring that sort of resilience in pushing through challenges is certainly something you can address. You can take this question anywhere you want to go. We use a term here at Kenan-Flagler, a beneficial presence, meaning do you bring a beneficial presence to our classroom that your fellow students and everybody associated with this program is going to benefit from having you here. So however you want to address that, that's really what we're looking for in this prompt.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think it's one of our possible questions we were going to ask was about hobbies. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's good to see that you can go a little more personal with that introduction. And it is a personal introduction. It's in the title, right? So that makes perfect sense there. One other thing our team picked up on with your just the section of your website in the application information area about your essays. And it said something to the tune of, the average completion time for these two essays should be about 15 to 20 minutes. And so our question was, is that more of a guideline? Is that to show that they should be pretty easy to put together? Kind of like, putting the time there. I can imagine just somebody looking at that and saying either I'm not gonna be able to apply because I can't write that fast, or maybe you're turning somebody off when it shouldn't be. So any clarity on that section and the timing portion of it all, or is it more just a guideline?
It's interesting that you picked up on that. It is something we
We
put
see
there
everything.
to remove some intimidation from the application process. That
Perfect.
you don't have to sit over your keyboard and ponder this for hours and feel like every word has to be perfect. It is something if you've thought about it, and that 15 to 20 minutes doesn't include the thinking time. If you've thought about it, you should be able to come up with a good, concise statement in about 15 to 20 minutes. More words is not better necessarily. So, a good, concise statement is what we're looking for. But we put that there, I think, just to maybe take some of that, anxiety out of what it's going to take to impress us. But, with that said, the thought you put in and the time you spend reading over it and proofreading it, certainly, and making sure it's what you want to say. I don't put that in the 15 to 20 minutes. I think that's extra time.
That makes sense. And we also, our team, to be fair, thought maybe you put it in there to show something we alluded to earlier. If it takes you 1 minute because you used ChatGPT, that's not long enough. You need to be spending 15, 20
Exactly.
minutes thinking
Exactly.
through how to actually respond. So we did go both ways with that, with the timing thing of how it could be beneficial. So awesome stuff. I promise I would start with you on this next section here. And so this is just kind of like a rapid fire. We'll go back around the circle here as we have a minute left to go. 2 questions to get to know you, right? So these are our essay prompts, I guess, right? To learn more about you all on a personal level. So what's your favorite part about reading applications to this program? And then if you have a secret spot on campus that you enjoy.
So for me, on the first question, it's the fact that they're all new to me. The other program I support here is the Master of Accounting program. And every essay I read in terms of goals for that comes into some form of, I want to be an accountant. Whereas our MSM program, we have students that are interested in healthcare, in sports management, in the hard sciences, lots of different sets of goals, lots of different personal stories that are very different. And I love not just the novelty of it, but the breadth of answers I see. Favorite secret spot on campus, our business school is located next door to the Smith Center, where the men's basketball team plays. Next to that is a building called the Carolina Basketball Museum that you would not necessarily know to see. It's kind of tucked away in a building. It's a wonderful museum that pays tribute to UNC's great history in basketball. And I always encourage people, if you're going to visit one spot on campus and you're a sports fan, check it out.
Sounds cool. Might be a little section about a little known person named Michael Jordan, I think, in that area. But
there's a letter from Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski to Michael Jordan that's in there that basically says, sorry you're not coming to Duke, but I think you're going to have a great career. And he did.
Hey, he was right.
Yeah.
Coach was right about
And
something.
we're glad he didn't go to Duke. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Lindsay, we'll flip it over to you. Same two questions. Favorite part about apps and secret spot on campus.
Yeah, very similar to what Dave just said. So I have worked with our full-time MBA population for the last 8 or 9 years. So for me, this is definitely a new population, right? It's like kind of hearing more about students coming right out of undergrad and just all of the great things that they've done in undergrad. Why, now, why a business degree now? Whereas full time, right? I mean, we're like 3 to 6 years work experience. They're doing different things. So I think that has been the most exciting thing for me to kind of just see a new population and really get to know them and kind of what they bring into, a master's program. So that's definitely been very exciting for me. Favorite spot on campus. It's not secret, but it's like, again, I'm going to kind of pair to our location. We have constant sunshine and it's usually pretty nice here. So our school basically is built in a circle and we call that circle Ring Road. So if you go in the middle of Ring Road, it's a beautiful park and trees, and there's always students kind of just like, enjoying the sunshine, relaxing, and then all of our buildings are around it. So you can actually walk Ring Road. It's about a mile and a half. And it's a great kind of exercise for employees. Like, let's get outside and stop reading all these apps and take a break. And so for me, yeah, it's always a really kind of beautiful, spot to be when you kind of need a little relaxation and kind of a break from your day to day.
Love that. Yeah, a little journey around Ring Road.
Yeah.
Julia, will go up to you. Favorite part about reading apps and favorite spot on campus or secret spot on
Cool.
campus.
So I'll go macro, thinking about my favorite part of reading apps because I've been doing this for a long time and in various different admissions worlds and types of programs. But I think my most favorite thing is when you are learning about somebody in the course of your review and you're getting more and more excited about that person, specifically as they fit to your program and the program fits to them and what they might contribute and also what they will get out of the program. So I think there's just those of us who've stayed in admissions for a while, we are rare birds. Usually it burns people out pretty quickly, but those of us who've been here for a while do it because we love that fit aspect and love getting excited about what we find throughout the course of an application. That is why I've stayed in admissions and while I would likely continue to stay in admissions. So macro level. My favorite secret spot on campus, it's not a secret, but it is really cool. The U of M peony gardens that bloom are really, really, really spectacular. Nichols Arboretum, I can't say it. That's a hard word to say. But that is one of my favorite sort of magical spots. It just happens in June. It's a short amount of time that they really come into full bloom, and it is absolutely spectacular. And I feel like an old lady saying it like that, but that's really truthfully like what I think is a really cool spot to go to.
Sounds relaxing. Again,
It
another,
is.
like Lindsay said, right? It's like sometimes you just need that little break, a little refresh, and that sounds like a good spot to do it. Patrice, same two questions.
Yes. So I love reading, of course. They're hearing about the students' journeys, just what they've done in undergrad, ways that they're contributing, even outside of school, within their communities, within their church, or other civic organizations that they might be a part of where they've traveled. And we touched on this a little earlier, just about their obstacles, if they faced any challenges that have maybe been a setback, and how they have what they've learned from those experiences and how they have turned things around and learned from those opportunities to strengthen their resilience, to strengthen their resolve, to continue to press forward. Love to hear those stories. And also, we share the 5 fun facts is another part of our essay portion. So we share all of those during new student orientation. So it's always funny and fun to hear how much students have in common, whether it's around pets or instruments and playing instruments or other interests. So it's always a great time. So I love I'm always fascinated in hearing the stories that students have shared through their journey. And then my favorite spot, we're moving into a brand new building at Scheller Tower, a 14-story complex, which will be holding our first set of graduate classes this fall in August. And it will be a strictly graduate building for the Master's in Management program, as well as MBA and Executive MBA. So we're super excited to be moving from our current Scheller building just across the street. And the expansion adds about 400,000 plus square feet of academic, research, and retail space to the Tech Square complex right here in the heart of Midtown Atlanta. So we're super excited. It's a great hangout spot with coffee, and we've heard Target might be moving in. So we're super excited.
Very nice. Good tenant to have. And little tease, Clear Emit is hosting an in-person MBA fair for those interested at that campus. And I don't know which building it's in yet. We're hoping to be in the new one. We will find out.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yes,
Hopefully.
we'll be in either the old or the new. We will find out. But that's in May. We'll follow up about that later. Marina, last two questions here for you. Same two things.
Yes, I will be fast. I would agree with everything that everyone else had said about reading applications, and I would add one of my favorite parts is seeing those students on graduation day with their families and the friends they've made in the program, and the joy and the happiness and the happy and sometimes sad tears to be leaving. It is like such a wonderful full circle moment to go from seeing them at the beginning of the process to at the end of their time on campus. But certainly, we say once a Hoya, always a Hoya, never disconnected from Georgetown, but at the end of their time on campus. My favorite spot on campus, again, I don't think it's a secret. We've recently moved to a new building on our Capitol campus, right in the heart of downtown DC, a couple of blocks away from the US Capitol building. And if you go to the very top, the 8th floor, there's an overhang in the building and a full wall of windows that gives you a perfect view of downtown DC. For anyone who doesn't know, DC building regulations say that no buildings can be taller than the Washington Monument, which is quite tall in its own right. And our building certainly isn't taller than the Washington Monument, but it's pretty tall. So we get a pretty good view of the National Mall and all that downtown DC has to offer. So it's a great place to get lunch.
Great place to get lunch, great place to visit, great place to check out the program. And with that, our session today is essentially concluded. We do have one slide here just about all the upcoming deadlines. And so as you look through that, I want to thank our panelists for hanging out today, for all the great content, for running over a couple minutes. And I said at the beginning, I will make it run over on my own accord. And I did that again today, so I apologize. But great responses, and I hope that everyone who attended was able to learn a lot about each of these 5 programs. As you can see, plenty of time to apply to all 5 of these programs. If not by the March, April deadlines, there's another deadline behind it in May or June. So take your time, look through all these essays, look through the applications, and hopefully you'll be applying to multiple programs in the near future. Thank you all again. Thanks for attending, and we will hope to see you at a future Clear Emit event very soon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.